Alright guys, so they just wrapped up the Sony's live event to talk about all the specs on the new Sony A7S III, and I just wanted to go over some of those specs, give you guys my first impressions on the actual camera itself. I don't have it in hand, it's still on pre-order. It will come out, they say that it'll be shipping out September 24th, which is quite some time away. But Sony put a lot of great features into the A7S III, and I'm excited to talk about them. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's start off with the sensor. You are getting a 12.1 megapixel backside illuminated full frame CMOS sensor. So the A7S II had kind of the same sensor, but this one is now backside illuminated, which is really nice to see. You're gonna get a lot of great low light capabilities. And of course it's still full frame. You're being able to shoot video with a full frame sensor, which is never a bad thing, right? So with that sensor as well, it is also going to be stabilized with a 5-axis stabilization. Sony also gave that stabilization the ability to get an extra 5.5 stops of dynamic range. Sony's always had some great stabilization within their cameras. I never really had any issues with the stabilization itself. It's really nice to see that Sony kept it in the A7S III. I know, like the GH5S, Panasonic decided to take out the stabilizer to help out the sensor have better low light capabilities, but Sony didn't do that there. They kept the stabilizer in the camera itself, and it's really nice that they did that. So as we all know that the A7S III is geared more towards video. So Sony did give the A7S III a lot of great video codecs. They gave it some new ones. You're also getting some all-eye codecs as well. So starting out, of course, you're able to shoot 4K at 24, 25, 30, 60, and now you're able to shoot 120 frames per second in 4K. 120 frames in 4K. There is a slight crop at 1.1, but you know, 1.1 is really not a lot. 120 frames in 4K, that's crazy. That's really, really awesome to see that Sony was able to do that without it overheating. We do know that the R6 and R5 are having some overheating issues, but even then, from the samples that I've been seeing online, the A7S III hasn't really had much of an overheating issue, which is, a super plus for Sony doing that. So sticking with the codecs, Sony also gave the A7S III the ability to shoot 422 10-bit. Previously, you were only able to shoot 4208-bit internally. So the 422 10-bit is internal this time around, which is a huge upgrade. Of course, you are able to shoot raw video, 16-bit raw video output. So you're gonna need a external recorder like an Atomos Ninja 5. But that is really nice to see that they are putting that raw capability in the A7S III. This thing is just gonna be a powerhouse of a video camera. And the specs just keep getting better and better as we go along. So let's talk about autofocus. Sony's always had some of the best autofocus systems on the market. This time around, they upped the ante again, adding a little bit more points on the phase detection. Now you're getting 759 phase detection autofocus points, along with the 425 contrast detection autofocus points. So this is going to continue to be a fantastic option to have inside video. We all know that, again, Sony's had one of the best autofocusing systems on the market. So moving this system to video, it's going to be awesome. There's going to be no complaints. Every single time that I've used a Sony series for video recording, I've always kept it in the autofocus modes and never had any complaints. And they've just improved it a little bit more, and it's a welcome improvement for sure. So looking at the photos on the back of the A7S III, from what I've heard also, it's gonna feel pretty close to what an A7R4 feels like. So the buttons are updated, it's gonna feel nice and squishy. The layout's gonna be, of course, really familiar to you. You're not gonna have any issues finding that button layout. Of course, I'm also positive that all the buttons are customizable, so you could customize any of those custom buttons to whatever you like. But moving to the back, let's talk about the screen. So you're finally getting a fully articulating screen. This is going to be great for vlogging or any type of photos or any type of people that like to do videos like this where you want to see yourself on the screen and frame yourself. That's really awesome. I'm really happy that they finally gave us a fully articulating screen. So talking about that screen, it is 3 inches and it has a 1.4 million dot resolution, which is really nice. I don't know how it'll do in sunlight, but we'll have to test that out in the future. So talking about the EVF, it is an OLED, which is really nice and clear, and it is a 9.4 million dot resolution, so super high res EVF. I've never really had any issues with Sony's electronic viewfinders in the past, but to see that they were able to give it a higher resolution, another thing that is super welcome and really nice to see. So Sony gave the A7S III 2 card slots. They did something pretty new. They are unveiling a new slot for what is called a CF Express Type A card. We haven't seen that before, but it is, in the CFS Express family. These read and write speeds are going to be pretty high at, I believe, 700 to 800 megabits per second, which is really fast. And of course, you also get the ability to have SD card slots in there as well. So talking about ports, the A7S III has a full-size 3.5 millimeter headphone jack and a microphone jack, which is really awesome. You won't need any adapters. You also do have USB Type-C, which is really nice for charging and things like that. And you also do have a full-size HDMI output jack, which is really awesome. Some of the rumors that I heard before were gonna give it a mini HDMI jack, which I thought would have been unfortunate, but they are able to give it a full-size HDMI, which is really awesome as well. And the last thing I really wanted to touch on was we finally got a new menu system. Sony finally put in a new menu system in the A7S III. Previous versions have had that same exact terrible menu system for the past who knows how long. They finally were able to give us something that we've been asking for the longest time. I'm really excited for the improvements on that system. From what I've been able to see, it looks a lot more organized. It looks like things are going to be a lot easier to find. And it is a welcome improvement, and thank you Sony for finally listening to us and putting in that new menu. Alright, so let's talk about price on the A7S III. So it is coming in at $3,500. So that's a little bit more expensive than what I would like it to be, but for everything that Sony is throwing into this camera, I think it's an okay price. I don't think it's that expensive. For example, the R5 is coming in at $3,900, but of course we all know that it is getting some heating issues, and you guys know all the issues that the R5 has been getting, and it hasn't even been released yet. So this wraps up this video on my impressions on the Sony A7S III. If you guys are interested, I will definitely try to get my hands on one of the cameras along with the Atomos Ninja 5. That way I could test out some of that raw video as well. If you guys like this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, make sure to drop those in the comment section down below. If you like this video and like what I'm doing here at the channel, please consider subscribing. Again, my name is Vince G. I appreciate everything you guys have done. We'll catch you guys next time.